Well, welcome back. I am back at it. Hope you're doing well. This has been a good week. There's been a lot of information absorbed on this journey to transformation. Sometimes the information is so challenging, it can get you up and hyped. Or on the other hand, it can get you a little in the dumps like, oh my God, this is tough, a cookie to deal with. But even with all this information and moving to transformation, it is about the mind being renewed, and that is significant. You got to have new information coming in while dumping out some of that old information. But as I go back and look at the story of Daniel, and it's interesting how the connection is there as far as transformation. I'm just going to, this topic this year, looking at transformation is going to continue from various aspects, different biblical stories, different angles of scripture. So going back to Daniel, looking at the exile, they were living in a different culture, and they also were dealing with these three options. One was they could retaliate or revolt in their situation, the Israelites I'm talking about in this exile in Babylon, or they could relax, just, cool out and take it easy, chill and retreat and just go with the flow in this ungodly culture, this Babylon culture. The last option was that they could also look at, reflecting on God and remaining true to him. So needless to say, Daniel and his guys, his buddies, his group of folks, or his friends, let me just say it that way. His friends, they took option 3, and they were going to stand their grounds. They were going to continue to reflect in the culture that they were, that they originated from, a godly culture. They were going to stand for those things that were true. So that's a clue. They wanted to stay aligned with God. But what does that have to do with transformation? Well, when we go back and I want to actually answer your question with some questions. Are you searching? Are you searching right now for some answers? Are things just a little jacked up in life right now, with the way things are going, that you need answers? Are you wondering why there is no traction in your life? Or are you wondering, are you fully aware of the landscape that you're in? We think about these questions as it relates to transformation. That's going to give us some answers. That's going to give us some idea of what we might really need to be paying attention to. So just as the Israelites, again, was in this foreign land, we are in a foreign land. Let me back up. In Jeremiah 29, the prophet spoke of how there was going to be a condition in exile, and the people were to set up camp in this land. They were to have families. They were supposed to go on about business and promote a well-being and being reflective of godliness, that it might actually penetrate, I would say, the culture that they were living in. First Peter chapter 2 speaks of the apostle speaks of how there is among believers living in a foreign land and being sojourners, being exiles. So when we think about these things, we understand where we are, what we are part of, and perhaps how we need to see things differently. Well, what's going to help us see things differently is going all the way back to the beginning in Genesis, looking at that men were created to rule and have dominion. So that's the first thing that God indicated that we were supposed to operate in, authority in the earth. We were also created in his image and to be a form of him. And we are supposed to create after his likeness. We're supposed to be in his image and in his likeness. And we're also supposed to be fruitful, be productive on this side of life. But see, when we're removed from his original plan and our lives are all out of whack because we're in this fallen state, this fallen condition, because of what sin brought through one man, Adam, brought sin and brought this change, which now have made the lenses of our outlook of life foggy, hazy, murky. We don't see things clearly. We've been separated from God, but we have a second representative who is Christ, who represented the human race and to bring a resolution of a relationship back established with God, or restoration. But we still live in this system. We live in this system where things are a certain way, a culture that's opposing God. So let's back up and think about that for a minute. We are still in the world, but not supposed to be of the world, just like the Israelites were in Babylon, but not supposed to be of Babylon. So when we kind of understand these things, we get a sense of the necessity why transformation is needed, why we need to renew our mind. We need to get transferred back to the original condition that our lives were supposed to be patterned after. You know, we're supposed to be governed after principles of God and supposed to walk in authority in the earth. So throughout the Old Testament, we have opportunities to see how God provided these scenarios, these situations, these events, these circumstances that required the people to get their lives back in alignment with him. So they would get in these situations. So now let's think about, well, how does that relate to us today, and how is opportunities for us to be transformed? Well, there was something I did. I think it may have been last week, just out the blue. I was thankful to God I was thanking him for the blessings of those things in my life, particularly in a certain setting where they can get up under my skin real fast and aggravate me. I've actually was thanking God for the blessing of what it's creating in me. The discontentment, the dissatisfaction, and where it's pressing me to a life that I am going to pursue God. I'm going to go after him. I'm going to rise to that next level that he wants me to be at in him, that I can be productive for him and fruitful and bringing glory and honor to his name. So the question I leave with you in the transformation, the journey that I hope you're gonna get on with me, is that, you know, what else is needed for your transformation? When we think about the various challenges that we maybe have dealt with, you know, from as I share with you, discontentment, dissatisfaction, or it could be natural disasters and situations that have occurred, you know, from hurricanes to fires to tornadoes to floods to property damage of some sort, employment loss or relationship loss. Whatever it is, whatever vehicle that God might be allowing that is supposed to elevate you in a way that you realize who is most critical. And as I shared in a recent message about urgency and challenges, that perhaps the urgency to bring you to a renewed mind, bring you to a place of understanding who you need to be connected to, that your life can evolve and change and that transformation can occur. So as I leave with you today, continue to pursue God, continue this journey to transformation, continue to seek out, search, and desire above anything else to your life to be elevated. Well, until next time, continue to emerge, live life in purpose, and I'll see you in the next video.